Oh, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit subscribe and click that bell so you never miss new content. And welcome to These Are the Times with myself, Erica Parrótt, and you guessed it, it is time for another segment of Illuminate. Yep, and today it's time to hang out with Uncle Tim, and we are going to discuss the destructive power of shame. You know, the shame that we give ourselves or we might receive from someone else. Either way, we're going to hit that topic hard. But you all are in luck because you get a 2-for-1. Because we also started talking about truth and loyalty. It kind of all wrapped together. So do yourself a favor, get those listening ears on, get your mind and heart in the right place. No one is pointing a finger. We're all here to help each other through this life. So may you find a nugget to help you find your key to your release. Good evening, good day, good morning, whatever time it is that you happen to catch this. Welcome. Thank you for hanging out here on These Are the Times YouTube with myself, Erica Parrótt. And today, Unc comes and hangs out with me. And we're going to have a heart-to-heart about the destructive powers of shame. Because yes, my good friends, all of us have experienced that emotion and that feeling and that burden of that not so comfortable feeling word known as shame. Or some might even call it an embarrassment. However it is that you convey or whatever word it is that sits better with you, either way it goes, we can all agree it doesn't feel good to sit in it. But today, my hope is that you will sit long enough with Tim and I that it might be able to help you shed some of that anxiousness that you might find come over you when you are put in these positions of shame, to be able to actually sit in them and to learn and feel what it feels like without giving in to the indulgences, without running back to your default ways of dealing with things, our family tie ways. Because let's face it, people, we learn how to deal with life from the womb by what we see at home, what we hear, and what we don't hear. So don't kid yourself thinking that, I got broke because of that last relationship. Honey, you went into it broke. Because of things you still hadn't recognized or patterns you still failed to take hold of and ownership of and change. My hope today is that you hang out with Unc and I long enough that you find that nugget that helps you turn that key to your release.
Yeah, it depends on where you are in that situation. Because if say I work with somebody, or a perfect example, years ago I had a friend who was always talking to me every night after work. We go have a drink while he waited on his significant other to get off work. So we would sit at the bar and drink. And what was the topic that we talked about 90% of the time? Their relationship and how he wanted to handle things and he wasn't sure. Okay. That was the extent of our relationship. We would have a good time and joke and laugh and this and that. But what happened? Oh, y'all are always together. And y'all, what do y'all talk about? Well, we work together 8 hours a day. So we talk about that. We talk about stupid people. We talk about other stuff that's going on in both our lives. Like people have conversations. I think y'all spend too much time together. I think that I'm not your problem. So I knew a whole lot of things that were going on one side. And I knew some things that were going on the other side just because of observation. And people think you don't see them when you see them. Mm-hmm. None of that, though, was my business. And I kept stating the fact that instead of worrying about me, you all have things to discuss. And I really want you two to go discuss us. I'm here filling time till you get here.
Right?
I'm not more important than you. I don't have anywhere to go, so I might as well hang out for a little and go home. But when you get here, when I get here, you always leave. Well, because when I get here, you two are together. So there's no point in me being here.
Right. It's now their time.
Right? So now you two are the couple. So I give you two your space to chat, hang out, whatever you want to do, go home, whatever. But yeah, at that point, that's the reason I'm filling this time just until you get here. And part of the reason is because if it wasn't me being here filling this time, you would be accusing him of all other kinds of people because you didn't know who was there and what was going on.
Very good point.
So I kept my mouth shut pretty much until it was constantly, y'all are messing around behind my back. Y'all messing. First of all, if you know me, I don't need to do that.
Exactly.
First of all, I didn't need to. It's not a necessary thing that I have to stoop to that. And two, if I were going to do it, it would be just bald in your face and I would let you know that was going on and it was done with you. You know, if I really was going to be that type of ignorant person, I'd be like, just so you know, because I like to be clear. I always like to be clear, even if people don't want to hear what I want to say. I'm going to be clear with you. And eventually one night it was like, you know, we should mess around. We're both drunk. I was like, no, we really should, because there's going to be a price to pay. And then we're going to be called liars and all this other stuff. So we're not doing that.
Well, here's where I was
it
going.
It became like a little makeup session and makeout session. And like, you need to go home.
Yeah. I get that.
There was no point in me going any further. I had nothing to gain from that. And if that, and then when I explained to them, and it's funny because this person has come back into my life and we chat now. And he's saying, I want to come see you. You're so cool. You know, I always liked you. I don't know why we never got together because you were dating everybody else in town. You were dating every time you went from one to the other, y'all were dating. So that's just not, that's not a thing for me. That's not attractive to me. You know, I'm purposeful. You decide that you want to spend your time with me. I decide I want to spend your time with you. And together is together. I don't invite people into that space. And if it's messy, I don't invite people into the mess. So, but yeah, there was, I never said anything. I never discussed it because one, I wasn't going to win on either side, but I also knew that,
Well, I'm going at it
I already knew what was going to happen.
I'm going at it at another angle though, where I was going with it. The question that I'm trying to get out there and get answered. With truth and loyalty, there's a fine line. And with someone like myself, who I'm not lying for you, and if I don't know, like could swear my hand to God on my life, no. The only thing I can say is, but then when you're in a relationship and someone approaches you and asks you a question about someone or your other, and you don't know because you're already in a doubtful place, be it because you're dealing with your own personal conflicts or whatever, how do you effectively have their back while still standing in your truth?
It's difficult. And like for me, I mean, when I was in a situation where someone that I had never met, who always was trying to talk to me, chat online, and I was at home, I was actually searching for jobs all day. So the computer was on, I was on, but I wasn't actively chatting with people. People I knew, a couple friends maybe say hi, but I wasn't hanging out online all day. But someone who had never had the opportunity to get close to me decided that it was in their interest to tell my partner, who they considered themselves friends with. They weren't friends, they used to screw around. So, but they was constantly feeding them this info that, oh, you know, Tim is online all the time. What does he do? And first of all, what I do is not your business. Some name that I could call you, because it's just not your business. It's between us. And my point was, I'm here all the time. I'm right here at home. Nobody's coming. I'm not leaving. I'm here because it takes an hour to do every job application, and I'm doing 8 to 10 of them a day.
Right.
And when your friend hits me up, because I consider your friend to be a douchebag before I ever met you, I don't respond because I have nothing to say to him. I don't want to be friends with him. I personally have no interest in even discussing him. And why doesn't he have something to do with his partner and the stuff they got going on, except talk about me to you? Because we don't talk. So there's nothing really for him to tell you about me. Well,
Right.
she said so and so. First of all, that's gossip. Have I slept with people? Yeah. Since we've been together? No. Why? Because I'm grown and I'm over 30 years old. So hopefully I've slept with some people. But when I made that commitment, I was serious about it. And it constantly annoyed me that you would allow this person to influence you toward me in any way. When we're doing the things that people are supposed to do, we're taking care of each other. You're fixing my car door. I'm helping you with school. We're doing this stuff. And to me, it was unreasonable and it was disappointing that someone whose real goal was to get you back into coming on in their little play circle, and they needed, to try to get rid of me to make it happen because they knew I wasn't for it. And I had flat out said, if that's what you want to do, I'm cool with it, but that's going to be y'all. That's not us. Because I think I'm worth more than that. And I don't want the drama.
I get that. Yeah, because it's a huge headache.
So it was to me it was a conflict of loyalty, and it also was kind of a negative thing of deceit. Like, why are you even entertaining this question?
Yeah.
Because people try to tell me that they knew you before we were together, and I'm like, that's fine, but that has nothing to do with right now, and I really don't want to hear it. Because to me, it's none of my business. That went on before me. I'm worried about the here and now. I'm here, you're here. We're going to work on here. Let's work on here. If we want to work on 3 years ago, you need to go back out there and take care of that. But don't have anybody bringing it to me. So, in that instance, I felt betrayed. I felt betrayed more than anything else, because if nothing that I have shown you in my behavior towards you and with you would ask you to challenge my character, but some random person that you know what they're all about and what they get into does, if you want to ask me about it, that's fine. But if you want to continually try to check in with me about it, no, I'm done with that conversation. Because were there anything to tell, I would have told you. And you'd have known, because I'd have said, I want to be single because there's people I want to see, and this is going to work.
I get that.
And when I would ask that question, have you seen me do anything around you here at home or anywhere that seems sketchy to you? And they said, no. Okay, then that should be enough for you. Because you're the one who, when we're out, you got to go to the other aisle of the grocery store because your phone rang and it's your sister or whatever. I don't even question you, because here's my thing on it. If it's shady, it's going to come to light. When it comes to light, we're going to deal with it. But I'm not going to run behind you asking you stuff all the time.
Okay, I get that.
I will tell anybody in the world, but I'm not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So I may check up on you. But see, this is the thing about me checking up on you. Like, if we're on the same account, I may look at the phone bill. But if I'm looking at the phone bill, it's because you've behaved in a certain way that made me question you. And what I'm not trying to catch you, I'm really trying to prove myself wrong, because I want to be wrong.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Because a lot of times
I didn't find anything. Go ahead.
A lot of times I have noticed people will do a certain action which creates a certain feeling, and it creates and breaks a trust. And then because they have excelled forward and they're past that, they feel everyone else should catch up. But Meredith Grey on Grey's Anatomy, it was never one of my favorite shows, but I do remember this season because when she said it, it hit me because of where I was in that life, in my life at that time. I make no apologies for how I choose to heal what you broke. You broke the trust. So now we've got to figure out how to get it back. But when you have one little thing that triggers what they've seen before, it's really hard to be loyal while still being truthful. Am I correct? At least for me, it is. Or like, I almost feel like I'm betraying them if I say, I don't know. I feel like I'm betraying them if I say, I don't know. But I don't know because you've also given me some little moments. So,
well, yeah.
But I think this plays into where we're getting.
But like you say, unless I have, like, if I have a friend and I think, I think if I have a friend and I think somebody's cheating on them, unless I have really concrete evidence of it, what I've learned through the years is I don't say anything. I let them be in their delusional world till they're ready to get out of it. And then when they start telling me I'm like, well, maybe you need to follow up with that. My advice always is to direct them back to their situation, to go to that person and try to work it out there, because it's not going to get worked out talking to me. I'm willing to be the sounding board and listen to your options, but I don't have to suffer the consequences. So for me, I always direct them back. If this is really bothering you, you need to go home and have a conversation and be like, can I just talk to you about something? And it may be nothing, but it's bugging me. So I just want to clear it with you, just get it out in the open and be done with it.
Let's tackle, because it goes into, I feel, what we just spun off the bat.
You get a very different response, and you be like, why was you talking to someone? What? Okay, I talk to a lot of people. I talk to 300 people a day, and even if I was having a conversation with them, it doesn't automatically mean that my conversation crossed any boundaries, no matter who they are and what they do. That conversation didn't cross my boundaries of how I see myself and who we are in a relationship.
Nice.
But people do that. And I hate that when people's behavior, like you catch them in several lies and you're finally like, I don't know what's going on with you, but 3 times you've not told me the truth in the last month. And they were things that you didn't need to lie to me about. So if that's a pattern and how you just deal with things because you don't want to discuss things, you need to sit down and explain that to me. Otherwise, I just want the truth. It's like, just like you call me at work 4 times a day and you ask me stupid stuff like, when I get off, what do I want for dinner? Food. I've been working all day. You're home 4 hours before me. I'll eat whatever you cook. You don't need to check in with me about that because we both grown. If we bought it, it's shit that we eat. Okay? So whatever that's in there that we eat, fix some of it because I don't want to do it when I get home.
Yep.
To me, that's and what I get is when you continue and you know how busy I am at work, you've seen how I am at work, you've seen me at work. So when you know all the things that I'm handling at work and you insist on calling me, you don't text me and say, is your day going good? You call me. Oh, what are you doing? To me, it just seems like you're trying to feel out where I am in case I want to leave work or something, because you're trying to really set up and plan your own time. Because that's what I've seen people do who do that. People that I've seen that are always trying to check in with their spouse, they're not checking in out of care. They're checking in on the timeline because they're trying to figure out whether they have time to go be shady or not, or how to work it out.
And
because
that is,
if we're both adults and we both have jobs, when you're at work, I assume that you're at work. I'm not going to bother you.
Same.
And I don't want you calling me at work. If something major happens, if the kitchen caught on fire, you may want to prepare me for that before I get home. Just want to let you know, the whole backside of the kitchen is black, but I'm going to fix it because, the pan caught off. That I can understand. Somebody got sick in the family. You want to let me know, even though I can't do anything about it at the time. You want to let me know. That I can take. That's a 3-minute conversation. But for you to call me 4 times between the 6 hours that you got home and I get home, and you want to know what's up with me, because once in a while I do leave early when things are good. There's no reason for you to need to know what I'm doing, because as far as you know, I'm at work. And if I were to get off work early, the first thing I would do would be to come home. or call you on the way and be like, oh, I got off early, I'm coming home. Do you want to go do something before I come in the house? And all those things to me are very reasonable. But you needing to know what I'm doing and if I'm at work, to me is deceitful.
See, that's how it feels when I'm approached with that type of behavior, because every time I have seen it as well, it's never been, like you said, out of care. It is out of concern for themselves. And do I have enough time to go do XYZ that I ain't even supposed to be doing? Or,
Or do I have to kick so and so out the house because
yeah.
they got no
And
business being over here?
so
It's
for
time. You're
me,
looking for cleanup time.
yeah, and for me, it puts me in a state of what I call Beckley crazy, meaning now you campaigning. Now you want me to come find the problem because you have now let me know I need to come watch you. I need to leave work early and just pop the fuck up. Like that's where it puts me when I
Well,
start getting that type
yeah,
of
and
behavior.
especially if because by the time that we're together and cohabitating, you should know me very well. You should know me well enough to know that I don't operate that like that. I never call you. If I call you at work and say I need to talk to you, it's on.
It's life or
If
death.
I call you at work and say you can meet me in the parking lot at work or you can come home, but we can talk. But you generally for that, you already know what's going on. You just haven't faced it yet, but it's gonna happen
Yeah.
because I like to just put it on the table. I don't want to, carrying that stuff, having that stuff, it affects you physically, it affects you emotionally, it affects you in so many ways, and it keeps you from being your best. You know, people are in relationships. Nobody wants to admit that a big thing about breaking up with relationships, especially when you've been with somebody in a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and you know you've been doing things, you get ahead, especially when it comes to family and they don't do as well as you do. And you're a lot of the thing of people not wanting to end their relationships is purely about shame. Because I felt that way. The first
We
two
all have.
years after blowing up everything and being on my own, I was more embarrassed because
Mm-hmm.
I was happy and believed I had a good relationship. And I had held that relationship standard up to people saying, this is how I live and this is good and this is going. And I felt ashamed that I felt now more, well, the shame came later, but I felt like a failure. I didn't
Yes.
feel that I was a problem. I felt like a failure. I felt like I had invested all this 110% time because I really thought I had found somebody that got me. And instead of it being a good thing for both of us, it was either step. It just they weren't invested the way I was. And then you feel stupid and angry at yourself for allowing that because so
Mm-hmm.
many times you said, "Oh, it's okay," because you
Mm-hmm.
want to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned from that. I listen to my gut. My gut is never wrong. My senses are never wrong. If something tells me that something's not right, it's not right. And if what's wrong, if what's not right is you, I want to know. And
Yeah.
I'm the type of person, I'm not gonna sit and accuse you of stuff. But I'll say, you know, let's go to Starbucks and get a cup of coffee because I want to talk about some stuff. And we can get over there by the fireplace and we can have a couple cups of coffee. And I'm going to tell you what's on my mind, and you tell me how you feel about it and what you think about it. Because this
There
is
you
what
go.
I'm seeing right now, and I don't like where I think it's going. So I give you plenty of opportunity, or I'll say, "What's going on?" Because I don't think you're happy, and people get defensive. No, I'm okay. I don't. Well, okay. In this relationship, there's a lot going on. I'm not okay. I'm happy. I'm happy
Right?
to see you. I'm happy the way things are going. So it's kind of a kick in the chest for you to tell me, oh, I'm okay. Oh, you just okay? I mean, all this is all going
Right.
on, and house is going on, and you know, yard is going on, and we're hanging out with people, and we're spending time with family, and we're not getting involved in any nonsense. None of that's going on. That makes me happy. And I'm
Right?
proud. And I'm proud of how things are going with us. And but for you to just be okay, you know, it's like if you're buying a wedding dress and, oh, that's gorgeous. What do you think? Oh, it's okay.
It's
Okay, we'll go
okay.
try on the next one. Let me see it.
Exactly.
If that's the level of enthusiasm that you have for that, I know that you're not in it. So there's no point in me, you know, trying to say, I think it looks great. No, go try the next one until we get to one you like, because you're in it. I want you to be happy and joyful in it.
And you know, shame has such a destructive power as well, because then you start operating in that as your thoughts, the way that you allow yourself to be seen or not seen, and it becomes really hard for you to operate any other way. Even if you get in a new situation that's not anything like that other person, as soon as you see one small thing that reminds you of, oh, it puts you right back there. So that shaming of yourself, and you know, I watch a lot of people say things like, I'm just so ashamed. They've made me feel so ashamed. But I take it a further step back. It's that shame that hurts the worst is that self shaming, that self down talk. And because what you're hearing, what's bothering you from out of other people's mouths is something you've already said to yourself or some way that you've already felt, usually, which is why your emotions get so amped up and all you can do is go into defense mode. And even with jumping into defense mode, a lot of people don't realize you might be telling the truth, but your actions convey something completely different. So, you know, it's like Gran would always tell me, if you're not lying, then why are you so upset? And again, it didn't dawn on me fully until I got older, but she's right. The way that you carry yourself through a questioning speaks volumes as well. Because, well, if they're questioning you, they need to understand, and they can't understand without asking a question. But the way you answer either eases it and makes it go away, or it just adds 13, 14, 15, 20, 200 more. To where does it stop? So, where do we stop the destructiveness of shaming? How do we start to begin to tackle it?
I think one of the reasons you feel ashamed is because time is the only luxury that we have. And if you're spending time with somebody who's not in it to be successful in it with you, you feel used. And it's like you were walking past the table when people were playing 3-card money and you didn't realize the two people that were on your side that made the first bets were friends of the guy dealing. And you lost your money, but you stood around and then you picked up on it. And you're like, how could I fall for that? People fall for stuff all the time.
Yeah.
We convince ourselves, you know, part of falling in love is we convince ourselves that a lot of the behaviors that these people exhibit to us are not that bad. And they're not that bad when you're just hanging out with them once a week or going to the movies or going on a date. But when you get to the point to where you're serious together, those things, if everything else is not going well, those things add up. Because what they become is, on top of you want to deny everything else, but the little things that they're doing are little indignities that are showing you more and more that they don't care. You know, and people say, I was so in love with you, but he doesn't. Well, first of all, love doesn't do certain things. Real love doesn't do certain things. Real love, if you are not happy and it's not working for you and you're not getting what you need out of the relationship, real love brings that to the table because that's the only way it can be fixed, even though it may hurt. And you're never going to hurt somebody less by telling them up front what's going on with you and telling them that you want to work on it and then showing them through your behaviors that you do. They are extremely hurt when you keep telling them that everything's all right. And more they see your patterns change and your behavior change and the way you respond to them. You know, And my song for a while was "There's a Stranger in My House."
Oh.
And it was, "There's a stranger in my house. I don't know. You wearing the clothes, same size shoes, you driving the car. I don't know who the hell you are, because you would never treat me like that. You would never deceive me. You would never lie to me. You would never tell people things one way about me and say different things to me. You can't possibly love me and do those things." Because to me, love is about respect. And if you respected me, you would respect me enough and care for me enough to be upfront and honest, even if it's painful, and let us go from there. Because what that allows us to, and I've said this to several people in my life, I want to end this while we still like each other. Because I love you and I want you to be happy. And if you're not happy with me, there's nothing I can do about that, but I can own my part of it and I can set you free and not feel like you're obligated. Let's decide how we're going to end this and go our separate ways and cry about it and be upset about it together. But let's not do two things. Let's not pretend. Let's not bring anybody else into this mess until we separate it. I'm not going to bring anybody in and you don't bring anybody in. We separate, and that way we can continue to respect each other after, especially if there's kids involved. And that's one reason why people act so stupid when they have kids. Because instead of being a grown-up and saying, this is a mess, and sitting at the kitchen table with that person and says, you're not a bad person, but I just don't want to do this anymore, and I'm not sure what I want to do, and I don't want to have you in a position of feeling that I'm giving you something that I'm really not.
People don't do that because it requires a level of maturity.
If they don't sit in front of you and give you the honest truth and give you time to process it, think about it, and come back to them with how you feel or whatever, but they're going to go down the street and start messing around with Sally Ann or Billy Joe, whoever. And the problem with that is that really creates the mess, because that other person, they're immature too. Otherwise, they wouldn't be with them. It means that they get a high off feeling that somebody is picking them over somebody else. So they're not going to stay out of it. They're going to want to get in it and show up and say stuff, and they're going to get hurt. You know, and it just is more indignity. And this is where people get messy and people start to get violent and they start to just do things to each other. And it's unnecessary. Because if you love someone and you really love them, you don't stop loving them. You may stop wanting to be with them. You may stop wanting to be around them because what's around them doesn't serve you, but you love them. You still want them to have good things. You still want them to have a good quality of life, even if it's without you. And at that point, you've probably seen that your life is better without them and their nonsense. But if you can break it off and be dignified without adding all the mess to it, whenever you can still see each other, you can still be, it diminishes the hurt on both sides. And if there are children involved, you're going to have to deal with each other anyway. So you might as well end it as amicably as you can and as quickly as you can.
Agreed on that one, because it creates nothing but extra messes and webs that create pockets that people then have to, and if it's a child, they have to figure out now how to live in life and cohabitate and all these extra things that didn't need to happen.
No, they don't. First of all, they don't have to figure it out. They already know. Children know when you're unhappy.
Oh, yeah.
They know when you're mad. You don't have to say where they know when you're mad. They know when you're unhappy. You know, and I got a phone call one day and I thought it was really funny. It was sad. It was very sad, but it was funny. But so Mario had to be picked up at the bus. I wasn't home yet. And I get this call. I'm like, hey, what's up? What did you say to Mario? What is it? I'm like, I haven't discussed any of this with Mario. So what happened? So Mario gets off the bus, comes in, throws his lunchbox on the couch, takes his coat off and throws it on the floor and puts his hands on his hips and goes, "What did you do?" Because Tim is so mad. He won't say anything, but he's so mad. It was like, I was like, and what did you say?
Right?
Other than let me go call Tim. Because I need you to be grown. If you were grown, you could have said, you didn't have to go into details. I think he was like 7 or 8. But he was like, no, he was about 7 or 8. But he was like, what's going on? All you had to say was, yeah, I did some things that made, Tim kind of mad, but he's not mad at you, and we're going to talk it out. We're going to see where it goes. That's all you had to say. You didn't need to call me crying and upset because, I poisoned him against you. No, I haven't said a word to him, but he knows that I'm not. He can just tell that I'm not happy with the way things are going right now.
Right.
Because my behavior is different.
Yep. Your behavior, your actions speak volumes. So sometimes we play a huge part in our own outward shaming or outward questioning. So at the end of the day, as much as you might want to be mad at somebody else because of things that you've created, so now there's an air about it, if you're still operating or appearing to look like those ways that bothered them or created that pocket and that distrust or whatever it is, only person that can fix that is you, the offender. So it's like people are really going to have to get in touch and in check with their own personal shadows and lights, because they keep a lot of situations around longer than need to be. A lot of times people hold up other people's healing process because of how they act and because of lack of speaking or not using their voice in the situation.
Well, and once again, when you talk about family patterns, people bring the behaviors into the relationship that they've seen and experienced, that things that have been presented to them as okay. So if conflict resolution isn't how something was presented to somebody, if their resolution was, I'll just go out here and meet somebody and move on, but they don't really move on and they're back and forth, and that's been presented to people, that's okay in relationships, because nobody really means what they say, so we just go play along and it'll be okay to wash itself out. But it doesn't. It carries over.
It does.
And it gets in the way of you having quality relationships.
Creates a baggage.
There was well, you're gonna think this one is funny.
Uh-oh.
There was a time when I was friends with 2 people who lived next door.
Okay.
And they had 2 little kids, and I was always hanging out with the kids. And he was doing some stupid stuff, and he was being shady. And I point blank sat in the car and was like, let me explain some stuff to you. I have seen this person do this, 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 and this. You don't need that drama in your life. It is unnecessary, and all you're going to do is create a bunch of problems for yourself. What happened with that?
Boom.
Did they take my advice? No. And then when it all came out, created drama and a problem. And then when it all came out, Grant's in there, she's like, what? Did you? Yeah, I knew. Why didn't you say something? What am I supposed to say? You don't say anything about the other stupid ratchet stuff he does, and you wouldn't have believed me anyway. You'd have been like, Tim said that you were doing such and such. No, I didn't say a word because it wasn't none of my business, because you grown, and if you want to be grown and stupid, and you go ahead and you'll find your own way. You'll figure it out.
Thank you.
You hurt other people in the process. But then you don't ever want to be responsible for it. Yeah, exactly. You're responsible for the pain that you cause people.
Oh.
Anyone, how I joke with people. Anyone that I have ever joked around with or cut up with, I was joking a little bit. I have gone and apologized to them if I even think that what I said to them hurt their feelings in any way, because I was really just playing, and I would never want to do that.
Well, yeah.
And most of the time they're like, "Don't worry about it." You know, they're like, "Thank you, but no." And I'm like, "Okay, but I just wanted to be sure." And they're like, "Well, no, thank you, but you know." And then once or twice people said, "Well, it bothered me," but I said, "Okay, then that's something I will never bring up again. I won't ever do that again. I won't ever approach that subject with you again."
There's some things you can't joke about with certain people, and you have to be aware enough to know that. But you also, like you said, have to be aware enough to hold your responsibilities.
Everybody has their true, and that, I mean, you have to be that way, especially in relationships that you care about. So, but everyone has some hole in them that's not filled completely. Everyone, there's something, and everyone has something that they're ashamed of. And if you're around them long enough, you see it. And like you said, you see it in the way they react to things, you know. And I know now that a lot of the way that I reacted to people, even though I knew it wasn't my fault, it was by behaviors that people were giving to me, and little sideways behaviors about somebody's sin that wasn't mine.
Oh, yep.
But they took it out on me because none of them were grown enough to go ahead and deal with it and own it themselves. Because I'm like, why would you, why would I wait 2 weeks because I knew you were going to be home and I'm standing in the kitchen waiting for you to come in, and you come in and I'm like, "Hey, you're here," and you walk right by me and don't even acknowledge me. And then you spend no time with me. And I'm like, okay, so what's wrong with me? I see you go and hang out with other people's kids, but not talk to me. But I'm looking up to you. I want to be like you. To me, I'm like, yeah, I'm treating you, you're golden because I'm a kid. And what that did was, so I went to where I could be good and acknowledged, which was everywhere else, but within that bubble of family. And as I got older, it's like, why are you always talking to me? Why are you always talking to me that way? Because that's how you talk to me. I don't know what your problem is.
Like all of a sudden, it's new. Like you've been doing this your whole life with me.
You've been disrespecting me since I was 2, and now I'm just grown, and I'm like, we're not doing that anymore. So now, but now I'm the problem. Okay, I'll be the problem.
Well, you know what, Tim? As much as I would,
but none of that was.
But you're right, and we learn it in childhood, and it starts in our freaking family homes with how things are handled, resolved, or even how you're treated within the home, and that creates how you react to every situation from there on out, up through life, and until you recognize
that's
where it came from.
I was with people.
You can't fix it.
But that's why with people, I would go straight for the jugular. I'm like, you're not gonna talk about me. I don't care what I do or how big I am. You're not gonna talk about me. You better take that go somewhere else because I'm gonna hurt your feelings.
Yep, same.
Well, those things.
So, what's your last piece of advice for everyone out there and encouragement?
But you gotta know who you are, and you gotta have a purpose. And your purpose encompasses the 5 things that you have to go through when you're talking about anything else. Who am I? Who do I want to be? What is my core belief about me? And what brought me here? And what are the things I don't like about me? And how do I get rid of them? When am I going to start doing this change? Am I going to start it today? Do I need to talk to somebody professional about it? But what am I going to do to get me to who I need to be? Where will I create my base for that? Where's my safe space to be able to share some of this with people who can understand, not use it against me, and it won't go any further? So if I can get in a group where I can discuss those things and talk about them, knowing that it's a safe place, a professional environment, that's going to be good for me, because then I can finally really talk it out, and I can also get feedback on how much of that I really feel is my feeling and how much of that is how it is. And the other thing, and it's going to give you purpose, is when you get to the why. Why am I going to do this work? Why am I going to bring all this stuff up and give it to myself and go through it and think about it again and look back on it and see what this and that is? Why? You're going to do the why because it matters, because it matters to you. Because it lets, until you do those things, that shadow stuff will keep coming up. It'll keep coming up in small ways and big ways. And the biggest way is going to come up in your negative self-talk, because when you're at that level where something good's going to happen to you and you're all in and you know that you're ready for it and you have worked for this, that's that little negative piece that's going to come up in the back of the head and say, you don't deserve this. You're not who you say you are. So that's why you have to do that work. The really why, and it's all about you. And everybody's got one of those spaces. Everyone has one.
We do.
And when you do the work, you'll start to see. I had somebody tell me one time, you can't fix any of that, Tim, but you also don't get to take it out on everybody else. I don't take it out on everybody. Yes, you do, because when you get a bad reaction from somebody, you behave the same way you had to behave to those two people, because that's survival.
And I'm guilty of that as well.
And I had to think about it. Yeah.
But that is how you have survived. And until it was brought out, and not everybody can help you acknowledge that. That's why people come into your lives at certain times. They're mirrors, and their light shines on what you already have a critique about or been dealing and fighting with yourself over, which is why it resonates or annoys or whatever with you. So I think, in saying everything that you said, my culmination with all of this is this one piece of advice. No matter what you have done in life to break a trust can always be rebuilt if every party involved is willing to sit down and truly be transparent. Because trust is not it's lost quicker than it's gained. And my piece of advice is this, I feel. Don't ever expect someone to lie for you when your self-work is not where it needs to be for others to just believe you without question. Because at that point, you're asking them to sacrifice and change everything that they are so that someone else sees you a certain way. You've got to do the work. You've got to put the work in. You've got to do the transparency work. You've got to do the conversations. You've got to do all of that. And it might take a week. It might take 2 years. But it goes back to what I said. I make no apologies for how I choose to fix what you broke. So now what are you going to do to meet me in the middle to help all of us rise above this?
Also, that when somebody asks you to lie to them, to another party, that not only do they make you complicit in their BS, they change your relationship. Because if I know that you just asked me to lie to somebody who's supposed to be so important to you, what will you say to me?
Thank you. Thank you.
You've shown me that you are willing to lie to do something instead of own it, or to create a situation to cover it, whether you've even been asked about it. So if you're going to lie to that person, I'm not special. Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Thank you. Well,
but
no, go ahead.
Watch that video. Because she covers a lot of this stuff. She just breaks it down, and it's really good.
I'm gonna actually tick it, and
we can talk about that video next week if you want to let everybody watch.
Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put that video in. I'll put a link into it for real with our clips, this segment, and make sure the viewers have access to it. And then you and I are gonna go into that hard, because I'm going through some of that stuff, the very same thing right now. So I like it. I can't wait. I'm gonna do my homework.
Definitely.
Well, listen, I want you to stay safe because it is stormy today. It's stormy
I'm
outside
good.
and in life. So please stay safe.
You too. Love you
I
lots.
will. I love you too. Mwah. Thank you for tuning in to another segment of Illuminate here on These Are the Times. And again, thank you, Uncle Tim, for coming and hanging out. Our conversations always are timely. This episode was recorded July 29th. And yes, you are getting it today finally because, well, I had to find my balance. That's just the real truth of the matter. The world has been stormy. Life has been stormy. But hey, we're still here. And I know you're probably like, where the heck's Tony J been? Well, he's been on the road working. And that's called life. Timing is of the essence. And we'll all be back at it. And there's also new things coming, as always. Some new faces as well as voices. So stick around. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. If you haven't done so already, like and subscribe. And hit that bell so you never miss new content. And there's a nice new single page that contains all of my links. So make sure you click on that and you can get anywhere easily. And don't forget, you hold the key to your release. Until next time, stay breezy.